Cut it out, man.
You set me up. You totally did. Because you know what Matt always says about us, how we're always copying each other? You know that if you say something even slightly funny, I'll say it in a funnier way. And then I accidentally become racist. That.
Roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Just keep your hands where I can see them. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
No, I'm only under one influence.
What's that?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Buenos tardes, mi hermanas y hermanos. Me llamo Jude Crane. I'm joined here with our co-hosts Jerry Crane, Levi Thiessen, and of course Byron Thiessen. Byron Thiessen. We are all hermanos here. Welcome back to another episode of Under the Influence. We're your hosts. It's the official Christian Influence podcast, where we talk about our lives, our experiences, we catch up as good pals, and we conquer hard-to-discuss topics that young adults are going through like us.
Like Steven Seagal. Mark Normand, geriatric old people, Christoph Waltz.
Why the color blue is secretly racist.
We are eating ice cream. It's delicious. I'm eating sorbet.
We're all eating it. Oh, Levi is the only one that
Levi didn't.
ate strawberry.
I was eating strawberry to match my microphone.
Strawberry.
Yeah.
Strawberry shortcake.
I was getting ready for the Barbie movie.
Oh.
Jerry, why do you hate the Barbie movie?
Because it's feminist garbage.
How could that be possible? It's
Well, that may be true. Have you seen the Barbie movie yet?
No.
How can you call it feminist garbage?
Because I read everything about it.
Oh, so because you read everything about it means...
Can't wait to hear what Mahler says about it, Jerry.
No, I read the description of it. I didn't just listen to some guy's opinion.
Judging a book by its cover, it seems.
I thought that's what you were dogging on.
That's
No.
what I was dogging on.
Oh, that was you that said that?
dogging
Sorry.
on you.
I was doing something. Dude, he's going to spill.
You can't just read the description of a movie. You have to see it.
Yes, I bet it's probably visually stunning.
I bet.
But, I don't really care about the visually stunningness of bright pink glitter and skin.
Okay.
They're plastic.
There's a lot of skin in the Barbie
They're
movie.
plastic.
Lots of shirtless dudes.
Children's toys, dude.
They're children's toys that are made of plastic.
You don't
not
gotta make
skin.
it
What's wrong?
weird.
I'm not making it weird. They made... Dude, that's a children's toy that's absolutely sexualized. Are you kidding?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not making it weird at all. I'm just pointing out the fact that because it's Barbie and they're live action people, there's a bunch of shirtless dudes and girls wearing little clothing, and it's a Barbie movie.
Yeah, because they're tiny.
Okay, that's fine.
Wait, are they actually toys in the movie?
Right? I think that they're just
So-
living in a place called Barbie Land.
They live
We're gonna
in...
just spoil it for people, though.
Well, I thought you'd... Yeah. Yes.
alert.
Spoiler alert.
We're in like the first
Done.
4 minutes of the episode. We're spoiling a brand new movie that literally just came out.
Hey, skip 5 minutes ahead if you don't want to know if they're toys or not. Are they toys?
I don't think that they're toys. They live in Barbie Land.
They live in
It's
Barbie
like
Land, which is like an alternate
dystopian-
dimension
yeah.
where whatever you do to a Barbie, like that's what happens to them. That's why they have like
Oh, that's like
weird
real
Barbie.
life too. Whatever you do to a person
Oh.
happens to them.
So they're taking the Mario route, where it's like it's an alternate dimension?
Yeah, but apparently it doesn't make sense. But I don't know.
Apparently it doesn't make sense. The Barbie movie?
I heard that the least funny parts about it are the two people in it that are comedians, Will Ferrell and that creepy lady from SNL.
That's
I
also
heard
what I've
that
They were unbearable.
the only highlight of the movie is Ken.
Yeah, it's Ryan
Ryan
Gosling.
Gosling.
I've heard he's the best part. Like that sounds like fun to watch his scenes.
She
But,
looks at me and
him
she
being
sees a friend.
him being emasculated and as a man and being and submitting to the matriarchy, but
Submit to the major.
I did hear interestingly that So the whole point of the movie is so on the nose. And there's a really cringy speech about like third wave woke feminism and all this stuff. And there's a part, but
still
like
on the second
by
one.
the end of the movie, like the whole point of it is like choose either the real world or choose Barbie world. And in Barbie world, we believe in women. And if you go to the real world, it's sad because men rule. And she chooses the real world. So she chooses. It's like she's like,
Yeah.
And I guess there's a scene too where they're enjoying, like Barbies are just willfully ignorant to the fact that they love this idea of the patriarchy until other ones who are woke or whatever, or who are like aware, are like, oh wait, you don't love it, you hate it. And then they're like, I hate it.
I do hate it.
It's funny. It's just kind of like almost satirical of the whole thing.
That is usually how movies end up when they try to really heavy-handedly be like, I think any time a movie is like, and our agenda is this.
Yeah.
You look at it and almost completely react the opposite way because you're like, ugh.
I heard that there was a line where it's like, Ken's like, when can we be equal to Barbies?
Yeah.
And then she's just like, when women are equal in the real world.
Well.
But until then, matriarchy time.
Until then,
Until then.
I'm gonna kill all the Kens.
I'm gonna kill you all, but since we're all
She has
toys,
6
you
arms.
won't die.
Barbie's actually like a war movie.
Yeah. That would be cool. They actually
My
mix.
arm, but it's just
That's
a plastic
actually
arm that he
Barbenheimer.
picks up on the beach instead of.
No, I'm sorry, Levi. I don't mean to dog on you. I know you like Barbie, but
Yeah, Levi. Yeah, weird.
no, Jude's the one that's all about it. I think it can be woke,
I still wanna see
liberal,
Barbenheimer.
feminist crap, and you can still enjoy it. Like I enjoy some of the more recent Marvel movies, and I walk out being like, "That was garbage," but it was fun. And so, like Barbie is probably better than a lot of the recent Marvel movies. I'm certain.
Yeah.
I'm betting I'm going to see a comedy, and I'm gonna walk
Yeah,
out.
it's kind of like walking into.
Yeah. You'll be laughing about something.
You'll be laughing because of how little you laughed.
Yeah, I've heard that the comedy is not. But it's like how I went into the last, what is it? The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens or which one?
Rise of Skywalker.
Thank you.
The Race of Skywalker.
It literally has the most forgettable name, but also with the most memorable last name of any character. And so somehow, and I don't know why I can't
in
remember.
almost all of like
Yeah.
sci-fi
In all of
media.
Star Wars, yeah. But that movie,
Palpatine final.
I walked out being like, I had so much fun. I know that movie was terrible, but I walked out being like, that was the most fun. Literally the most fun I've had watching any Star Wars movie. I know, was watching that in theaters.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't understand. Even the
That's not true.
the 7th one was better.
That's not true. Ugh, no,
Seventh one?
it's just boring.
I thought the 7th one was way better.
It's just
than
New Hope reskin. So boring.
And New Hope's a great movie. I'll watch New Hope reskin rather than whatever.
Well, nine is like watching a thrilling.
It's like watching a building
it's a
that's on fire finally collapse.
It's a colorful, explosive, diarrhea ensuing like.
No, it's
What
a
was I
building
thinking?
that's
You're right. You're
it's a-
100% right.
it's a
what
build-
was that diarrhea-inducing explosion? Why did I not think of that? I gotta go rewatch.
It's a collapsed building that they put more dynamite into and then had it explode again.
like that,
But
one
with
time.
like colorful flames, like
Yeah,
elephant toothpaste comes shooting out on fire.
Yeah,
you know?
pretty much
Like-
right.
That was fun, and I liked it.
I think Solo was the most fun I've had watching a Star
Solo,
Wars movie.
yeah.
Because I don't even like Solo. I don't like the actor they got, but I like
No, I
the
don't
movie
like
was
that
really
guy.
fun. Rogue One was good.
Rogue One was
Rogue
good.
One was
Rogue
good.
One was good.
I wish they would do another spin-off or off of
Andor?
no, not Andor. You just said it.
Rogue
One?
No, before that.
Solo?
Solo. Because they at the end of Solo they have
Call it duo because
Amelia Clark
So
and
that
what's
was
his
the
face is
first
Darth
movie
Maul.
that
was
flopped.
really cool.
But that end. I
So
want
that's
them
why
to-
they didn't.
I
like-
want them to spin off from that. I don't care if it flops
Apparently,
because there's a whole story there.
Yeah.
they made a deal with Donald Glover and his brother to write a Lando series.
That would have been pretty rad.
Really?
Yeah, but then that was before the writer strike, so now it's probably never gonna happen.
Darn it.
Thank goodness for the writer's strike.
Yeah,
I would have
those
loved to
people-
have seen how quickly that that Lando's little robot friend would have vanished, just immediately disappeared for no reason. Well, that's weird.
Or
because he wasn't an interesting. I don't even remember. What
Because she,
because they
He's the
made
Millennium
him,
Falcon.
they made him Pan.
Okay.
they did do that
and then they made him flirt like constantly
with a robot
a robot.
Oh wow.
who becomes the Millennium Falcon or can speak to the
that's
Millennium
right.
Falcon.
Yeah,
Something.
which is the only thing that can.
Right.
And then wait, didn't she become the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah.
She either is the only one that can speak to it, or she becomes it,
I
which
watched
is
the
like
movie once.
neat,
And
really cool.
Just
I don't remember that at all.
and Han instantly knew Wookiee.
Yeah, it's not a very memorable movie, but it was fun.
Han knew Wookiee?
He starts.
He studied Wookiee in high school. He picked it up like I spoke Spanish.
Yeah. I think that movie was fun.
Wookiee is the equivalent to Spanish in the
Yeah.
Star Wars world.
Definitely
That's
not.
In the Star Wars
No,
world.
I misspoke earlier when I said that the most fun I've ever had watching a Star Wars movie is 9. It's probably watching 3. Like
Dude,
anytime
3
you
is
watch
the
3,
best.
3 is super fun.
Three
So
is
good.
well,
But
it's not the best, but it's my
in
favorite.
theaters, I've only seen 7, 8, 9 because we were really young when 1, 2, and 3 came out, and we were really young when
You were
New Hope.
I was an idea. That's how young I was.
Well, I don't think you were even an idea.
don't even-
Dad was like 10 years old, maybe.
Were you
I
an
would.
idea?
I wouldn't have watched
I'm
it.
sure I was an idea.
I wouldn't watch
You
it. I
watched
didn't
it?
see what the hype was about
Yeah.
in theaters.
I saw the prequels in theaters.
Yeah.
Googles, yeah.
You could have seen the third one.
I saw them all.
we weren't-
growing up in the 90s.
Growing up in the 90s. We're on video now.
Shoot! They can all tell.
That Jude's actually 46. He grew up in the 80s.
Grew up in the 80s.
So the third one is a lot of fun. But in theaters, definitely, out of 7, 8, 9, the most fun. Because 8 was artistically really pretty. There's a lot of really pretty shots in 8. I know that everybody hates it, but it was pretty. But boring as sin.
I know what you mean. I mean, like, there's so much happening.
Oh, yeah. That was beautiful.
You talking about the milk?
Yeah, we're
Blue milk. Mark Hamill drinking blue
He kind
milk.
of goes like,
And it's in his
more
beard.
green.
Yeah.
but it's,
yeah,
it's in his beard.
It's so.
Oh, great scene, dude. Cinematic.
There's a lot of beautiful
Chef's
cinematic
kiss.
shots, like Mark Hamill downing blue milk from an alien. Ray, I've given up on the Jedi way.
It's chunky. It's like pre-curdled in the other.
It's nutrient packed. It makes me closer to the Force.
It's just pre-kefir'd. It's kefir.
Luke's out of his mind on a planet. Just like, I've become one with the Force, Ray. I can Force project now.
I can force project. They can force project now.
It cuts to him after he's projected onto the battlefield, back on the planet, and he's just surrounded by bottles of blue milk.
And then he just turns into a puddle of blue.
Yeah, that would have been
He doesn't just vanish. He just turns into a puddle of blue.
blue. That's why the Force ghosts are blue. They drink so much milk to manifest.
Yeah.
That ninth episode did have a ton of cinematic stuff, like charging, regardless of what you think about it. Running on a spaceship on horseback is pretty cool.
The meme,
It's cool.
The meme when he just annihilates everything.
Oh yeah.
But the ninth one, I actually really enjoyed. I know it's dumb and has no reason to, everything. But the fight between Rey and Kylo, with all the water, like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I just had fun watching that. Like, I know it was lame and it's just a bunch of like, like I was just sitting there like, this is great.
It's a great place.
Space wizards swinging big space swords at each other, like.
It's an awesome what is it, like place setting? There's a word
Yeah,
for that, but
yeah.
a name for that. But like fighting on the wreckage of a giant spaceship in the ocean is pretty.
I just thought it
pretty
was cool.
rad. But then isn't that where they confirm that Han Solo is a Force ghost?
Han Solo.
Cherry, cut it out, man.
You set me up. You totally did. Because you know what Matt always says about us, how we're always copying each other? You know that if you say something even slightly funny, I'll say it in a funnier way. And then I accidentally
Can't
become
do
racist.
that. But yeah, they
Han
confirm
Solo, yes.
Solo is a Force ghost, which I actually thought I didn't have an issue with, but
I thought that they didn't, and that it was just a figment of his imagination.
Oh, was it a figment?
That was like
I
the
think
whole
it's
thing that
up
Han
to
was trying
you,
to say. Yeah, I think it was.
Han was trying to say, I'm a figment?
Yeah, he's just like, I'm literally just a memory of yours.
Jeez. A figment of your imagination is reminding you, I'm a figment of your
Dude,
imagination.
he was so, like, non-emotional.
Well, it's Harrison.
It's Harrison Ford.
He's 90
He
years
doesn't-
old.
And he did not want to be in anything related to Star Wars ever again.
Hey there, kid. Just like
Dude,
He's like
after
300 feet away, just like taking a step
Like,
one at a time.
what is it that brought you back to the character of Han Solo, Harrison? Like, what is it that made you go, like, what part of the story do you want to explore? And he's like, I just wanted another plane because I wrecked my last one.
I ran out of movie sets to get hurt on while filming. Every
just
single
getting
movie
my
he's
foot in
made,
the door.
He
the
hurts
past 5
himself.
movies, he's been seriously injured on.
Dude,
Because he's old.
In
He's trying
the
to do something
seventh one,
Break his back?
in
Yeah.
the seventh
Millennium
one,
Falcon?
the Millennium Falcon crushed him with the door.
Yeah.
That's true.
If that wasn't an omen for things to come.
I don't think he's gotten hurt yet playing Thunderbolt Ross in the new Marvel movies.
I injected straight gamma poison.
Oh,
in my
gosh.
bloodstream.
He's like, I am a method actor.
I'm
now.
90. I
gonna
might as well see
actually
if this
be
I'm
actually
gonna
works.
actually become the
They
Red Hulk.
microwaved him.
They microwaved him. They just roll out and they just.
General Ross. Dude, I can't wait to see. Actually, legitimately, Harrison Ford is. big
See,
guy.
that's the bummer thing is like,
It's gonna be CG, which is
I know, but the bummer thing about Marvel right now is that like all the stories are bad, but there's some cool things that it's like I would be excited to see, like the idea of Harrison Ford being the Red Hulk. That would be sick.
That's super.
And the entirety of Miss Marvels.
is awesome, but unfortunately,
You think
the
it
way they're
sounds
going
good?
about it.
Yeah, the Marvels.
Oh,
Incredible.
Secret Invasion was kind of a bummer.
yeah.
I just
The first few episodes
it.
were interesting.
I
'cause
didn't
was like,
watch
ooh,
it.
spy thriller with people that can what?
Yeah. No, I was just saying I did not watch it.
I watched
just
it.
the story was changed. They're just taking like
Well, it's always
big
gonna be a
name
little
IPs
Yeah.
and condensing them, but it's like Secret Wars would have been a really cool 3 movie if you're already
Well, they haven't
Marvel's
even done
already
that yet.
doing it.
Secret
It's
Wars
like-
is coming up.
or Secret Invasion. I mean, literally has like every character in Marvel,
Yeah.
and it would have been such a cool thing, like an Endgame moment or an Infinity War moment where they tried to do that, but then lasting throughout a series. Seems like would have been such a better choice than the small scale,
I saw a
big
headline.
implication Secret Invasion that they did.
I saw a headline that the Captain Falcon thing was not gonna do any.
Falcon? From Smash Brothers.
What?
Oh, I guess because he's Falcon and now he's
'Cause
Captain
he's-
America.
he's-
Go ahead.
Oh, is that really the
Captain
character's
Falcon?
name?
No, his name is
Oh.
Captain America or the Falcon. But I
Oh,
understand
I
what
thought
you're
that
saying.
he was Captain Falcon.
No, that's
a
He's
Smash
not
Brothers
Captain
character.
America.
Falcon Punch.
Yeah.
Falcon.
I just thought that it made more sense than being Captain America because
It does,
wasn't
but
Captain
he's
America.
either the Falcon or he becomes Captain America
Have they said?
because
but
of
he's neither.
justice or something.
No.
What do you mean?
like
No, in the
Captain.
new movie.
in like the at the end of Winter
Civil
Soldier
War.
and Falcon.
You
like-
mean when he looked like a Power Ranger?
Yeah.
No, they made him now look okay.
Oh, they did.
Yes.
He's
wearing
in
an
it?
outfit. He's not going to be wearing the like white cowl
With-
thing.
with
The
head
rocket
being
popsicle
open.
costume.
Yeah, he's not wearing that anymore. So I guess in the new movie that like is his Captain America movie, the one with Harrison Ford or whatever, it's he's supposed to be wearing one of I think the coolest Captain America outfits, which is the one from Winter Soldier, the second movie.
Oh.
It's that very kind of like sleek, almost black one. It's supposed to look kind of like that.
That
I
is
think.
sick.
No, but I saw a headline that said that they were just going to disregard most things from Secret Invasion.
That makes sense.
Well, it's
It's-
secret.
Except for the very end, I think that they're kind of setting up X-Men with at the very end the president of the United States. We're just spoiling stuff, dude. I'm
Spoilers
sorry. Like
episode.
The president Donald
Hold
Trump
on.
is
you know
in it.
who we are spoiling for this for who doesn't have a choice is Tim. He has to scrub the footage.
I mean,
so
you
we gotta
either-
stop talking about the end of stuff.
Okay, I just saw a clip from the end of Captain America: Winter Soldier, but that's old, where he's giving the speech like we got to change. It's completely
Not Winter Soldier.
isolated.
You're talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon
show.
and the Winter
Yeah.
Soldier, yeah.
Don't touch Captain America. That movie's
right.
beautifully good.
You're right.
Where he's do better.
His-
Dude,
his-
I say that all the time.
Listen,
because it's so stupid.
completely isolated. His speech is fine. It's a good speech.
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm not going to necessarily.
He's talking to government officials. I think completely isolated.
I'd have to
removed
watch
from
the end to
agenda.
agree. Should we watch it?
But
I just saw on Instagram.
in context.
But in context and with the costume, it's the equivalent.
bad.
It's the equivalent of a guy just doing this. We have to do better because the costume's like smashing up against his face.
do better, Senator.
Yeah,
It's just cringy.
it's a good
still.
speech. I think it's a fine speech. It's just a
And no one has
heavy-handed
asked
agenda.
for 1 second to stop. Or no one has stopped for 1 second to ask why. You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up because if you don't, the next Carly will, and you don't want to see 2.0.
I haven't seen any Marvel
I don't
movies.
hate it. I just kind of interested about the wings.
Don't you mean?
What, do you have differing thoughts?
no. We disagree wildly on it.
On what?
The quality of it,
The quality of what?
the speech.
I thought you were saying earlier that you think that it was actually kind of good.
Yeah, I do think you remove the agenda. It's a great speech.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Like there's some bits in there, like some lines. They're the ones that aren't laced with agenda.
Which line was that?
Well,
It's not laced with agenda.
I like when he says that they have a common struggle. Like that idea, I think is a good thing to point out. Like, yeah, I like the idea that the whole entire world in this fictional version of our Earth faced something terrifying altogether. And so in a way, it equalizes everybody. Because like to ignore some of the identity politics and stuff, there are still things that make different people unequal on different terms, and things that make certain people like they're either disenfranchised or really low income, or they are suffering in ways that other people aren't suffering. And so there's not a whole lot that equalizes everybody. Now, as believers, we know that one thing does equalize all of us, and that is sin in the world and our need for a savior. But like, I like the idea presented in this show that they all faced recently that, decimation, or well, not decimation because it's actually 50%, but like half of the world was gone. That was terrifying. And now they're dealing with everyone coming back. And that's something that whether you're rich or you like live in the wilderness in a small tribe, or you live like whatever, everybody faced it to a certain extent. And so it does equalize everybody in this way that everyone is dealing with some of the same problems. So like that idea behind it, I think is cool. And as a believer, I think it's interesting because it's almost like something that is true of actual human existence, which is there is something that equalizes all of us. And I think that as believers, we should be probably focusing on that more, because it's really difficult when you're trying to evangelize to someone or to build them up or to try to get them to understand their need for God, when they see you and maybe they think that your life is going way better than theirs is, and they don't really want to hear about the ways that you believe God has blessed you. And it's important that we can like get across to them that no, there's something, regardless of how you think my life is and your life is and anybody else's, there's something that completely equalizes all of us, and it's a problem we all deal with, and the solution is the same for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Feel like you hardcore disagree.
Not. How could I ever hardcore disagree with that statement? Like,
How can you hardcore
we'll have
disagree
to agree to
that we're
disagree
all
on this
sinners
one.
and that
I
we
don't think
need
sin is the
Jesus?
great equalizer. I think it's,
You don't?
no, of course I do. Like, what else could I possibly? It's probably taxes, social credit score.
That's
Like,
true.
The
No,
great
credit
equalizer is
scores,
the social
income
credit score of the
tax.
CCP.
Yeah. Of the CCP. Really,
the
it's tax people in Canada and America and Mexico.
Chinese Communist Party is
Actually,
pretty
it might be
heavy-handed.
affecting us, but probably doesn't affect like the people in the middle of Zimbabwe or something.
No, yet.
You know what
Not
they're
yet.
worried about? They're like, I really wonder how my credit score with the CCP is.
Shoot, I hope they can't grab my face on a CCT camera.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what they're worried about in Zimbabwe.
So that was what we were watching. That was the thing that I was like, oh, I don't remember this part being in there. And I think that's interesting. I like the idea of this fictional universe. Everybody's dealing with the same thing.
One great thing about that whole CCP thing where they use CCT cameras and do everything to you, there'll be people that will buy things and then duck so that they catch the image of the person standing behind them.
Wow.
And so they use that person's credit score
That's
to buy
insane.
things.
That's pretty rad. I've seen some like really great masks people have been making that are like photo
Does
real.
it change the price?
No,
I have no
it
idea
just
how the credit
it
score works.
impacts as that other person instead of yourself.
Oh, because if you buy certain things, it'll impact your credit, your
Social credit score.
Yeah.
Really?
Everything does.
So like you buy or do certain things like make it better and certain things make it worse?
Yes.
I have
So why don't you just go like buy, like let's say granola bars make your credit score go up. You just go buy 1 million or like 1,000 granola bars. Like I got a great credit score.
If that's the way it worked, then I bet a ton of people are doing that. I don't think that's the way it works because a ton of people
to
who
offset
are
how,
in China apparently are a huge
to
fan
offset
of that.
how anti socialist you are. You just buy 1 billion granola bars and then it offsets it so you're back to zero.
They're mine.
I am an upstanding citizen. Look at all these granola bars.
I think that's how they would that's probably how it works.
That's probably how it works.
I don't even know that you had to check your credit score, your social credit score to buy things.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I just
know that what you
I
purchase can
saw it
impact
as a clip
Everything
out of
usually can
China
impact it.
that
I've seen people changing their gait because it can catch your gait, like
the way you
personalized
talk?
gait. Yeah, the gait way you walk. Literally, people will. It has a database where this face walks this way, from hip movement to foot movement, synced up perfectly. Like we know how you walk. So even if you wear like a
So
mask
people
or something,
started like frog hopping.
you've seen
around
people
now.
like skip, or people will buy these masks that are really freaky. They're just like a sheet of like plastic or something, but the way it's colored is hyper real. And so for the cameras, it looks one way, but then it can track your gait even beyond your face. So it's
Do you think those people must get in trouble for doing that, right? They're purposely trying to avoid the government.
probably.
Yeah.
that's probably.
But from what I hear,
why
the
they did whole
CCP is
gate
like
thing.
super lenient on punishment and stuff.
You got to
they
start
don't
walking like they do in Dune.
What,
Does-
Byron?
With
does it-
zero.
Does it have actual gait mechanic, like biomechanics tracking? Because that's what you would need to monitor how gait differs between people.
I mean, it must.
No,
Like
there's
it's-
no there's no biomechanics.
Biomechanics is how the mechanics of the body works. So like you have to track multiple figure points, and like
Yes.
there's like several cameras. You have to have like 5 cameras on a person to track it.
They've got them.
I know they have a lot of cameras, but they have to have you in line and know the direction and know where you're going to monitor all this stuff. Like there's a lot of
with less
there's a lot of stuff
with
on the back end that
less
still needs it.
test material, the more cameras they need. However, if you have the same person with routine is like super important.
Yeah.
If you have the same person every day walking down the same street, there's no doubt in my mind.
So they might not have
like the sampling.
I don't think it's-
Yeah,
I
they
don't
might not have so much data on literally every single person in China that they could do it for every single one. But right, like the ones that go in certain areas frequently enough, they probably have repetitive data of that person.
I would bet they have it on every
And
single
they'll probably target it like
registered
towards
citizen.
people that they don't like.
This episode's not going to do super well in China, probably.
We're not going to get those.
No,
like, we
those
got like
big
100,000
China
listens in
butts.
China. That's on.
Yeah. We've had very little in China, actually.
We got to do a John Cena Chinese.
Bin chilling, bonjour, yeah,
Ice cream. Oh, bin chillin'.
bin chilling. We just ate that.
That's why we did that, actually, this morning, was to appease our Chinese
Because we knew how bad of a.
To appease the Chinese overlords.
Yeah. Yeah, we also had to...
This sorbet is delicious.
chilling.
I'd love to go on a tour to China, maybe Beijing. Looks
Frank
like
is
Frank's
rank.
written something for us.
Frank is really trying to tell us something here.
Well, I've read them for a while now, so maybe
Should Levi read it, or should I read it? Or should Byron read it?
I don't know. Just leave it up to whoever. Frank, what do you think? And you?
That was aggressive. Me?
Yeah.
Hang on.
What did Frank say today?
I don't like how quickly you were like, Frank said for you to read it. But I'm not going...
It's you.
I'm not going to read it in my head. I'm just going to read it out loud.
Just read it out loud.
Okay, yeah,
Just read it.
out loud.
You know what they say?
Reading in his head.
Sorry, Frank's handwriting.
Frank's
I
handwriting
got
is
it, I got it,
legible.
I got it. You know what they say? Crime pays. In 1998, I made $3.1 billion. No relation.
You know what they say?
Crime pays.
That is what they say.
No
also, in 1998, I made $3.1 billion. No relation.
No relation.
Yeah. I think we missed the right year by like 3, maybe.
Frank really wants me to keep
Frank
that.
really wants you to keep that
That
message.
was, Frank, I don't want it. Frank, I don't. Hang on, Frank, I don't want it.
You got it away from me.
The audio listener, that was a visual bit. Great.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, I had a wild day yesterday. I kind of wanted to tell you about it. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Did you?
Yesterday, you said tomorrow. No, on Thursday, I had hoped to get all of the stuff for the shows coming up packed ahead of time. So if I had to work yesterday, I could do some office work and not have to worry about anything else. And also, Monday, I'm hoping to take the day off because I'm going to be working like 2 weeks straight out of town, and it's going to be rough because we got 2 county fairs coming up. By the time you see this episode, they're probably both already done. But yeah, so Thursday I'd want to do that, and we went to pick up the truck from where we store it, and the battery, it's usually dead, so we have to jump it.
Oh, really?
Usually, it sits there for like 6 months at a time, not being used.
I
so.
guess, yeah.
Is that not good for the battery?
Well, it's an old battery, and we knew that it needed to be changed soon, but we keep jumping it, and it keeps working. And we've had a new battery.
There you go.
We've had a new battery for 2 years in the back of the truck for when it inevitably dies, and that was now. So I'm glad this got out. This and the thing I'm about to tell you about got out of the way before I was driving the pass in the truck.
That would
That
have
would have been bad.
Because the battery was dead. We go to jump it. It was so dead. Like usually you put the key in, and even if it's dead, it'll like murr.
Yeah.
It wasn't doing it. No sound. The lock, the like automatic locks weren't working. Like nothing. I was like, okay, well. So we tried to jump it, never got it to jump, wouldn't even start to turn over or anything. So then we didn't have time to do it that day, though. We had to come back because my dad was just helping me. I was going to take the truck, and I was going to do the rest of it with David's help. So then I was like, well, I guess I have to come in tomorrow now and do this. And I'm going to be by myself, which is a bummer, but whatever. So fast forward now to the next day, which is yesterday for us. I go to pick it up, and we're like planning on changing the battery. That goes super well, super easy. We change the battery. It's, fit as a fiddle. Like it starts up so quickly, so easily. And my dad and I are like, all right, I'm going to go get gas, and then I'll meet you over at the shop. I go get gas. So I drive down the road a little bit, come back to the shop. And as I'm backing in, my dad's pulling in behind me, and he goes, turn around right now and go to Le Schwab. And I was like, what? And he's like, go to Le Schwab. Look at the back right tire. Look what I just saw. So the back tires, or the back wheels on the truck, they're the dual wheels or whatever. You know, where it's like 2.
They're dualies.
Is that what they're called? Dualies. Dowries.
Dowry?
Not doubt.
A dowry?
A dowling
What?
rod?
Yeah, that's my dowry. No, there's
your
2
dowry
wheels on each
tires.
side, and the one of them, thank goodness there's 2 because one of them completely blown, like open. So totally flat, like, you know.
Wow.
But it didn't look like it unless you noticed the big gaping hole in it. Because, well, it wasn't flat because it's attached to another.
Yeah, because
one.
it's got no weight on it.
Oh, it's got very
directly.
little. Yeah, because all that weight now is on one.
Yeah.
And when I was driving it, I had been like, that's weird. It almost feels like it's dragging a little bit on the right side, but barely. But I was like, I haven't driven it in a while, and typically the truck
does lean.
slightly leans to the right because there's a little bit of heavier like weight of equipment and stuff on the right, but not much. So I was like, maybe I'm just not remembering it being this bad. And then it made sense. So I drive over to Les Schwab. As I'm pulling into Les Schwab, the point of all what I'm telling you right now is just that yesterday it felt like, in a movie when you go, I have a simple thing, the character goes, I have a simple thing to do. And then something happens and you're like, I have to do this now too, but that's okay. And then this, and then this, and then this, and it just gets crazier and more interesting, and like wilder things are happening.
Yeah.
And for some reason, sometimes when days like that happen, I just have so much fun. And so I had a blast yesterday. I really did. When it was all said and done, I got back to the shop. I'll tell you that. But so I'm driving to Les Schwab, and I'm pulling into the Fred Meyer Les Schwab parking lot, and there is a lady on the corner of the road with a sign. And as I'm turning, I look over, and I'm kind of not really paying attention. I look over and I see her, and she just gives me the biggest, this warmest smile that I've seen. And it was so it just filled my heart with joy. Like sometimes there are people who are clearly either homeless or whatever her situation is. She's holding a sign. She has a little puppy with her and a bunch of stuff, and she's panhandling, or she's standing in the corner. And I looked at her, and it didn't feel disingenuous at all. It was just like she, despite her circumstance, was just so happy. You know, sometimes it feels that way. She could have totally fooled me. I don't know, but I don't think she did. And I was like, huh. And I wish I had more time because I was driving by her to like say hello or wave or something. I just kind of like gave her a quick smile and nod and kept going. Well, I'm driving the most recognizable truck in the world because it's covered in like a paint job of kettle corn. So I drive over to Les Schwab. And I was thinking, well, you know what? I'm gonna be in Les Schwab for a little while. Like, I try and give homeless people water if I have it, and I usually have it in my car, and I didn't. I was like, well, I can go get her some water at Fred Meyer while I wait and maybe go talk to her. And so I drop the truck off at Les Schwab. They say I have about an hour. Like, this is great. Which ideally it's not great because I needed to get this work done, but it's fine because I'm like, you know what? I have something to occupy me. I can go talk to this lady. And that sounds like, it just sounded pleasant. Like, I want to go talk to her and hear about her life and hear about what's going on and maybe be praying for her. And so I left Les Schwab. I walked over through the parking lot to Fred Meyer. I got a little snack, got some water, go over, talk to her. Her name is Erica. She's very, very nice. She is in town, and I was like, so, you know, tell me about your situation. She's like, oh, I'm just trying to get back home to Miami. And I was like, whoa, like, what are you doing all the way out here? And I guess she lived in Oregon for a long time. She used to work at the state fairs. Like, when I told her, I was like, oh, I was that guy in the kettle corn truck. She was like, oh yeah, you smiled at me. And I was like, yeah, you know, I was talking about kettle corn. She used to work at the state fair when she was growing up. She lived out here. I don't know why she moved to Miami, but she had a son who lived in Washington, and she's here because she was picking up his ashes. And I don't know the circumstance of why she couldn't then get home, but her best friend in Washington, you know, knew that it was a sad time for her, and maybe she was going to need something to, you know, uplift her and encourage her. So her friend bought her this dog, this cute little puppy, as like a kind of like a therapy animal, I guess, or like a companion for her to have. And so she named this dog Malloy, which I guess is like a character from her son's favorite cartoon when he was growing up. And that character was one that was like always trying to comfort people. So she thought it made sense. And it was just really like such a pleasant conversation. I got to talk to her for a long time, and she was so nice. And she's just saving her money for, you know, until she can get a bus pass to go back to Miami. And so I was happy to give her some water and food because I was like, well, maybe you don't have to buy any food now. And then I talked to her for like 20, 25 minutes, and then I left. And then when I eventually got the truck back, you know, way later, I drove by her again, and somebody had bought her food at McDonald's. She's like, hey, Jerry, somebody bought me food. And I was like, great, that's so great. And then she was like, oh, I see your email on the side of the truck. I'll email you. And I was like, yeah, keep me updated. I'd love to hear if you make it back to Miami. But it was just such a cool, like, I don't share that story because I want to be like, hey, I did a good thing for a homeless person. I just share it because, like, she encouraged me. Like, I walked over there because of how much joy I just saw in her. And, you know, and I think sometimes you can see that in people. And it made me think, like, man, I think I want to be more like her. Like this homeless person sitting on the side of the road, and just there's something about just the way she smiled and how happy she clearly was, despite, you know, sitting on like one of those walker things with a dog that was tied to it, and all her stuff there, and then come to find out, you know, like the circumstance of her situation, and she just was so kind, and so it encouraged me as well, and so and then that made me like, I just knew, I was like, I think I should just go over there and talk to her. But then, that's not all. I do that, and then I'm walking back to Les Schwab, and as I'm walking into the Les Schwab parking lot, I see the doors, I hear like a screech, and I'm like, what was that? And I look over, car plows into the curb, up over it, and this big curve, you know, the park across the street from Kaiser Fred Meyer? They were turning into it, and they go into the grass, but over the curb. Wow. So like for a second, their car was like this, and then it went like that, and then down. And then they kept going, and so both the right wheels or tires on the right side just over it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, like, okay, somebody has to help them. I'm like, well, here I am. I'm glad I left right when I did because I saw it happen. So I start to walk towards the curb because I'm going to have to cross the street, and it's a busy street. As I'm kind of slowly walking towards it, like, what's going on? Maybe they're going to be fine. They might pull out and leave. They were turning right into the driveway. You would think then to fix your mistake, you back up the same way you turned in, but in reverse, and then you go, backed up the other way. Back into the road, meaning now they're facing
The opposite way.
straight for the curb. So now they have to then try and go like 5-point turn. If they had gone, you see what I mean? Like if they had gone curved backwards, but they curved the other way. And so it was like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And now I'm realizing the car, you know those like light blue, kind of boxy, low to the ground cars that are really long? I think it might be like a Plymouth or something. There's only two kinds of people that drive those cars.
Yeah.
Really, really old women or absolute crackheads. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm realizing,
traditionally,
I've never seen otherwise.
Very
I don't think they're
strong-held
Plymouth.
tradition.
I don't think they're Plymouths. There's something else, but it's like those
Wide
low to the
body.
ground, kind of wide-bodied, long,
Like an old
very
Lincoln?
boxy. I don't know, man.
Maybe you're probably like
Especially one with like the bumper was broken on the back, parts are broken. I was like,
Mimi's
That was
was a
from
Plymouth.
going over the. That was from going over the curb. It wasn't like that before.
no, it definitely wasn't.
Mimi's was a Plymouth.
They're like the car that Mimi used to have, but a little bit almost lighter looking, not as like hefty.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it.
Probably
But
a Lincoln.
I was just like, good gravy. Like, this is either an old lady who might have had a heart attack. Like, she crashed into a pole. Like, there's a pole thing there, too, that she hit. And I was like, oh, my goodness. Or this, I'm going to walk over there and be like, hey, do you need help? Bang! Oh, like, like, get shot or stabbed or something. It's true. It's possible. Like, I was kind of scared. And I'm like, okay, well, I still have to go find out. And then I realized there was a guy walking by, and he was kind of looking at me and then looking at her. Whoops, I guess I just spoiled it. Looking at the car and then looking at me, and I kind of was like, and I went like, I'm gonna go over there,
You got
and
it.
then no, I was like, I'm coming, like that, like I'm gonna go over there.
Yeah.
And he went, oh, okay. So then he started. So I knew he was thinking the same thing I was like, and I actually talked to him later, and he said, dude, only two types of people drive these cars. And I was like, that's what I was thinking. He's like, yeah, I 100% thought that. I was like, I'm so afraid this is gonna be a meth head and he's gonna shiv me. And I was like, dude, that's what I was thinking. But and
then he
got
shivved
there, and then that guy shivved me. And he was like, just kidding, I'm the method. Give me all your money. No. He walked over there and was like, are you okay? And I couldn't get over there fast enough because it was a busy road.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that before he went and asked if they were okay, the car, like I said, pulled out the wrong way. Now it's facing the curb. So either you have to crash into the curb again or like inch over. Well, clearly the person driving wasn't in a state to really be driving. And so instead of doing that, they just went and then hard turned it left and went over the curb again, but a little less this time. So just the front right tire did,
That's the way
and
to
it
do it.
crashed down and the back one scraped. And I was like, oh
They were
my
four-wheel
goodness.
drive.
So I was really certain that this was going to be a meth head. And I walked over and by the time I got there, I realized like there was now that guy calling 911 because he had found out that this old woman in there was having chest pains. And so they're like, okay, this is serious. So he's calling 911. There's another guy who's smoking a cigarette with her to calm her down.
She's smoking a cigarette or he's smoking a cigarette?
They're smoking a cigarette together.
Yeah.
She's a lifelong smoker.
She was like really shaky and she's like, I need to smoke a cigarette. I know it sounds crazy. And he's like, hey, I smoke too. I get it. And the whole reason, once I knew someone else was calling 911, the reason I still walked over there was I was like, hey, there's one thing I think I can serve in this is maybe someone to help calm her down and keep her calm until people get there. I don't know anything really medical. Somebody's already calling 911, but I did see it happen. And you know what? What I can do is talk to her and hopefully keep her calm until the paramedics get there. But then because it took me so long to cross, another guy came up and he seemed really nervous too, but he was talking to her. And I kept offering, I was like, hey man, because he seemed really, like he was scared. I was like, you can, and he left his car like wide open down the road. Like anybody could have taken it. It was running and open. And I was like, you can go back to your car. Like, and he said, no, I can see it. And I was like, no, it's okay. I can talk to her if you want. And I don't think he wanted me to. And so I just kind of stuck around in case anyone needed any help. And then eventually I left. But it just sounded like when she went up and then crashed down, the steering wheel like crashed into her chest. That's why she was having chest pain.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't seem, she didn't say she was having chest pain before.
that caused the
Yeah,
incident.
no. And I don't know what caused it. But yeah, I don't mean to just be like, hey, this crazy thing happened. But like, it was just like battery needed to be changed. Tire blew. I had these two crazy interactions. And it was like, as I was sitting there watching this car wreck, I was like, this person needs help. I should go help them. And then I thought, it was just like within the span of an hour, it kind of felt like God gave me 2 opportunities to be like, go help people. Yeah. The second one, I literally did nothing. But like I walked over there and I just was there and I kind of talked to the people who were helping her mostly. But I just talked to one guy named Josh, who was the one that called 911, and it was kind of fun talking to him. And I think she's okay,
That's good.
Praise the Lord. But
You left a Christian influence card with her.
You know, when you
Hey, if you play video games,
yeah,
when you thought you gave everything away, when you said her,
yeah, still could have
you
been
know,
a method.
women can be crackheads too.
That's true. I just
we
never-
live in modern America.
It's not-
women can be crackheads too.
That's not what I meant. I meant because I had just said it's either a little old lady
Yeah.
or a crackhead, and
then you said her.
Yeah.
so the implication was
The only
The
gendered
implication
language I
is
had
that
used-
crackheads can't be women.
No, the implication is that the only gendered language I had used, and then therefore used a gendered pronoun to follow it grammatically, would have been, I was talking about the old lady.
Levi's operating under woke grammar.
Yeah. Jeez.
That just because it didn't include a certain subject means that it
Actually, I
must
feel like
mean the opposite.
I'm more abiding.
Jerry's
I'm more
abiding by-
the woke, like,
No, you're abiding by literal grammar.
I
Like
mean, I
classic
wouldn't have
literal
known
grammar.
if
Get dunked on.
No, if you had just
There's a gag at the
if
end of
you
it.
had just not gone, oh, I just gave it away who it was, then I would have like
If you're basically saying if he had not said, "Oh shoot, I just gave it away," then we wouldn't have known he gave it away.
then we wouldn't have known that he gave it away.
right.
Interesting.
And then
observation.
because it would have
I
just
didn't really
been
care.
fine, because it could have just been a crackhead woman.
This is true. This is true.
Which also, if I hadn't have said, "Oh, I just gave it away," I don't think Levi would be making this weird case right now either.
I wouldn't because it
there
wouldn't
would be
have
no
mattered.
reason to.
Correct.
There would be no reason to.
Why are you so mad, buddy?
No, I'm just
He's tense.
Listen, you're both really angry right now. We can tell. We need to.
Yeah, I forgot I even said that.
I've been holding
really
on to
held
it.
on to it.
Levi was really mad.
He
about
waited
it.
for you to finish the story with the most courtesy, and then
then
said,
went way
"Wait a
back."
minute. Remember 5 minutes ago when you
rewind
said
this.
Yeah. What? You don't believe in women smoking crack, Jerry?
That's why we have you're a good platform for the female crack smoking.
He does speak for the radical American.
I speak
He's
for the
the
radical
voice of the
American, which
radicalized
includes crackheads.
So did she overshoot the left turn?
No idea.
Got
I
it.
guess. I mean, just way too early, and she kind of revved it a little bit and went too early.
Yikers.
Undershot.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
This was by Fred Meyer?
You know Kaiser or River Road Park, not Rapids
Okay,
Park. River
okay.
Roads Park.
I was confused.
Which I might have said Kaiser Rapids, but River Road Park, which is right by Fred Meyer. But
There's all that construction too on the other side.
that's a gas station going in.
Is that a gas station really?
What?
Yeah.
What gas station?
Fred Meyer, Les Schwab.
Fresh Meyer gas
right
station?
there.
I did not know that.
This does not help anybody.
Sorry, this doesn't help anyone else
I had a
besides me because I
similar
need gas.
interaction with an old lady like a long time ago on route, or like a few weeks ago on route. I was in, Sherms. Is it the place? I was in Medford area.
Yeah.
And I was at a four-way stop. And it wasn't a four-way stop.
I think
was in a
Sherms is a
turn
company
lane,
that owns
and it was a
stores,
red light. I think you're right. It was a turn lane, it was a red light, and once it turns green, I still have to yield to oncoming traffic. It was one of
Yeah.
those. And it's green, and there's traffic going by. But the guy to my right, who's just in the lane that goes forward, big black truck, is not going forward. And then his driver's side door opens, and he just kind of sits out the side of it. And he's like looking back. And I'm looking forward, like watching, because I have to yield to them. So my attention was not behind me. And he's just sitting there, and then he makes eye contact with me. And he's like waving his arms. And I'm like, me? And he's like, yes, you. I was like, what's going on? And then he just did one of these. And behind me, like 3 cars down, was an old lady driving a minivan, and her trunk was open. And she had clearly no idea. Full hatchback all the way up, boxes in the back, and she's just like,
And he was telling you.
and
to
there's
deal
the
with it?
driver in front of her going like, and she's like, "Man, nah." And then the guy's like, I was like,
He's like
what do you
asking
want
you
me
to
to
take care of
do?
it.
And as soon as everything clicks, that's when I have the right of way. And I'm like, so I begin to go, and I'm like, what's going on? And it's only while I'm turning that like I'm realizing, oh shoot, this lady's starting to drive, and there's like stuff moving out of her trunk. And so then I just kind of, I just left. Because I was already in the middle of the intersection by the time the gears clicked.
The way you were saying it was like you were about to say, so I did the crazy thing of like stopping and helping her.
No.
Like
So I left.
But then you're like, yeah, so what I did was like, well, so I left.
I just left because the road I'm turning on, 2 lanes, not an immediate place to turn around. My biggest question though was like, one, why does the old lady have her hatchback open? But 2, like the guy who was 1 car away from her,
Yeah. It's like flagging you down.
was like flagging me down, and I have more cars behind me, and I'm just like, what was that guy thinking? Because he was like, dude, like urgent.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, me?
Maybe he saw you open it.
That could have been.
And he was like,
That's
you
what
gotta
you were-
fix it. 'Cause
He
you
could have noticed
jerk.
when I jumped out at the red light and opened the old lady's hatchback and then ran back into the car and went,
Gotta close it out with an on route with you. I'm sorry.
On route with June.
I could skip that.
it made me think of that. And I felt badly driving away, seeing the guy shut his van or his truck door.
So
Have you been creeping closer to me?
I don't know. I've not been trying to move.
We started the episode and you were closer to me than you were to Byron. I was like, that's gonna look kind of weird. So I went over, but then somehow after hitting that, our arms were just fully flush.
if you watch this podcast on like 5 times speed, you'll just watch Levi in the middle go scooching from side to side from the crack.
No, but no, go ahead. I was just gonna make a wisecrack.
you reminded me that when we were on our trip, me and my dad went camping camping trip 2 weeks ago. We talked about it last podcast. But when we drove through Bend, holy crap, there's so many cones.
Dude.
And you were talking about the guy who was wearing his vest and you just started walking, you're like, you
All
don't
of
recognize
Bend
it. All of
is
Bend
under construction, and it has been for 3 years.
It
Like,
is ridiculous. I literally saw there was someone walking with an orange dress, and I was like, I can't see him.
you understand? They blend in with
This
the
is so
background.
weird.
Yeah, not to mention it's home to the worst drivers in the world.
I think Bend is horribly laid out. They grew too fast.
It is wildly
It is so bad. But
pretty.
yeah,
It's really pretty.
it's very pretty.
But man, there've been some driving around, and man, there's been.
But when you're saying that, I was thinking of like, that is a miserable place to drive, and you drive that every week.
Dude,
that is
yeah,
a miserable
yeah.
place to drive.
When you get into like the neighborhoods, and it's just as like congested with construction, it's terrifying.
Yeah,
Coming
I
up to a roundabout and just knowing at any moment, out of one of the neon surfaces, a body could emerge and just start taking up the yield section, and you're like, ah! It's
A body could
stress-inducing.
emerge?
Yeah.
Hey kids, want to see a dead body?
Oh, it is so nice though when you see someone at a roundabout, you're yielding to them, and you stop, and they recognize that you stopped, and they recognize that you saw them, that it wasn't like an abrupt, and then they do one of these, and I give them one of those back.
Yeah.
That is nice.
That's a good feeling.
That is
no.
very.
They walk forward across. And they walk in front of the van around to the driver's door. You get out and you both shake hands, and then you get in and leave.
Sometimes I put my hand on their collarbone. I'm like,
And you.
And it's not just a regular handshake. You do the Vulcan.
pop.
Knocks 'em out.
Sometimes I just pop people's collarbones out.
But we're getting low on time, so I want to come back to something maybe more. I don't think we're going to talk about what I said we were going to talk
Yeah,
about.
that's fine.
Yesterday, I saw opportunities that I think God gave me to be helpful. And I was thinking while standing in the parking lot when that car like went, I was like, they'll probably be fine. Somebody will help them. Right? And then I had just come off this high of like seeing this lady and talking to her and having a great time and getting to pray with her and committing to pray for her and hopefully I want to see her again and help her however I can and then I was sitting there like, well, I'd have to cross the street and it's busy and dangerous and my truck's probably almost done and also I wanted to go eat some popcorn. I had a drink and I had a peach that I bought at Fred Meyer. I wanted to go eat. And then I just remembered the title of one of our podcast episodes, which was "Be a Helpful Person."
Pretty straightforward.
I love to be a helpful person, but in that moment, for whatever reason, and I think I said in that episode, man, I love to be a helpful person, and in that moment, though, I was thinking like, well, it would be scary. Like this person could shoot me. I don't know. They could be a crackhead. And I'd have to cross this busy street. And I was like, oh, I might need to get my truck. Like, what if they have to call me? And then I was like, be a helpful person. And who cares about any of those other things? This is right. And so it was cool because it's not necessarily often that like the title of a podcast or exactly what we've talked about, it'll stick with me, but will come back as like a lesson for me in a moment. And I like when I was talking about last week, I think with some of you guys, like, hey, somebody recently told me this about a podcast episode we did and how it encouraged them. And I think it's good that you know that. Like, we should be encouraged to keep doing this. But also, for me, I was standing there and I was like, episode 7 or whatever, be a helpful person. Let's go be a helpful person. And make sure that we're doing it to glorify God, you know? So I just wanted to kind of update the be a helpful person thing. And
He was a helpful person.
well,
one day.
I really wasn't. I mean, when in the moment
He tried to be a helpful person.
in the moment where I reminded myself be a helpful person, walked over there, I didn't do anything to help except maybe talk to the guy who did the help. But
You were still there.
Well,
I was there.
Jude just drove away.
It's true.
That wasn't.
No,
But
I
you were
know.
also extremely helpful to, I think, the lady before the incident even happened.
No, yeah. I think that you were.
The woman who smiled and showed the joy.
Erica? Yeah.
Erica. Which I think is a good reminder to just emanate joy, especially if you have it, which is a wild thing for someone in her position to have.
And I think it's
just
wild
say
that she was like, "Oh, you're the one that smiled at me."
Yeah,
That was sweet.
Yeah.
She's like, I said I was the guy in the popcorn truck. She's like, oh yeah, you waved and smiled at me. And I was like, yeah, well, you smiled at me. That's what made me come over here.
I think it would have been very reasonable with the severity, at least that you described, of the accident, that if that interaction had not taken place, you might have been in a headspace because of all these things you had to do.
Yeah.
Where you could have seen someone run up to the accident, and I mean severity as in you didn't make it sound like someone was immediately dead. So like you could have seen someone else go up and say like, it's getting dealt with.
Yeah.
But you were already in a headspace to be congenial, helpful, and just like literally spreading joy. And I think Erica probably lended to that. Which is why it's important to be, even in her position, like she still has this seed of joy that she's willing to so genuinely, it seems, like smile and share it with other people and be willing to have conversation. That changed your headspace going into the accident. That kind of butterfly effect of just being a joyful person, how that can help.
Which I think is the title of another episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really fascinating. Actually, I didn't think about that. How there's really no way of knowing what would have happened that day, despite had I not done certain things or she not done certain things. But I think it's a fair possibility to assume that had she not acted that way, I might not have gone over there, and I might not have been.
And if you hadn't talked to her, then maybe the crash wouldn't have happened.
No,
That's a different way of looking at it.
I think
butterfly
effect.
You may have been inside of Les Schwab when that accident happened, and then you would have heard it, and then you'd be like, "Oh, whoa!" And everyone else would have.
I would have.
Yeah.
You would have.
I would have stayed in Les Schwab. I think.
You wouldn't have went out.
Yeah.
So
What's going on out there?
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
My face against the window.
yeah, exactly. Fish in a fishbowl.
Do you need help?
No one's gonna see it from that far away. I'm just eating popcorn. Yeah. No, I do love to be helpful, and I think that the one thing I did want to focus on too was that in her circumstance, and she said she was a believer, and so like after I talked to her for a little bit, and I told her, well, if it's okay with you, I'm going to be praying for you, and I want to do whatever I can to help. And she's like, oh, that's so great. I'm a Christian too. I appreciate that. And I was like, okay, well, let's pray together then. And because I think something I've been trying to do, and we talked about this in a previous episode about specifically homeless people, is just treating them with more humanity, and even if wherever you fall on the whole, like, I don't want to give money because I'll buy drugs or whatever, like, it doesn't mean you shouldn't treat them like people. And even a drug addict needs water, and so I think that came from Gaga too. I was talking to him about it, and so I've been trying to keep water in my car and just like ask them their name. Like, that's the thing that I think, even if you aren't in a position to give them money, you don't have any cash, or you don't think it's right, or you don't have anything to give them. And so like I've been, even since trying to start the water thing, I've been like times where I go, oh, I don't have any water in my car, so I can't help this person. It's absolutely not true. Like, just looking at them and being like, hey, what's your name? Because there's this like passive thing about them standing there. They're constantly being disregarded because it is kind of this annoyance. And then I know that, at least for me, and I'm sure lots of other people, it's like they're standing there and you're just trying to look anywhere else but at them because you don't want to feel bad. You don't want them to feel bad. But it's like, even if I'm sitting there and I have nothing to give them, like, I should probably roll my window down and be like, hey man, what's your name? Like, you know, I don't know. They don't get treated like people, and they probably don't feel like it. And whether it's their fault they're in that situation or not, like, I don't feel like they get treated like people very often. And so if I had nothing to give her too, I was like, I just want to talk to her because, and that was great. Like, that's the first thing I asked her. And I don't know if it was weird or not, but I was like, hey, what's your name? And so I talked to her and well, I introduced myself too. I wasn't just like, thank you.
Hey,
I wrote
what's
that
your
down
name?
in my little book.
Okay, goodbye.
Yeah. I'm taking a survey on homeless people. Surprisingly, a lot of them are named John.
Surprisingly, a lot of them have normal people names.
But it was just, I don't know. So I think to kind of also touch back on like something we talked about before about homeless people specifically, like just, it's not just homeless people, it's just everybody. Like, treat them like people and just take an interest in people. Like, I think that if anything good came out of that, and I'm sure good things did, and any good in me is God, and I know for a fact that, like, I think the Holy Spirit was just like convicting me, just like, hey, dude, you know, remain true to things that you have probably said before to people to do and you want to do. Go talk to her. Like, treat people with love and respect, and it doesn't mean you have to be giving them things. It doesn't mean
I think as Christians, you could have a empty car and you still have something to give.
Yeah,
it kind of is about
That's
giving
what I'm
things
saying.
to people, but like, you're never without something as a believer to give.
Yes.
And that is just through speaking or through something, but you are giving something. You are like, you're literally offering something to them. You're offering conversation, you're offering a relationship, you're offering prayer, just the feeling of being seen, like feeling human, because they don't get treated like people, homeless people. And so more than just treating, making sure that they actually feel that and reciprocate like the feeling.
That they know it.
That's important too.
Yeah,
But
if
there is never a situation where you are without something to give as a believer, I think.
Yeah. No, if you're a believer, you always have something to give. You always have something to offer people. And I mean, that also should serve as encouragement for believers when we are feeling low. Like, sometimes we find our value in like what we offer people, right? Or often, I think, especially men do. It's like, dude, if by the world standards, maybe you have nothing to offer, but that doesn't matter at all, which more than likely isn't true. But like, that doesn't matter at all, because if you're a believer, you absolutely always have something of value to offer. And use it. And because like, especially because it was a gift given to you that you do not deserve. Use it, and you've been told to use it. Like, don't ignore that. But I don't know. And I was like sitting there talking to her, and I felt a little bad at first because I'm like, oh, I'm interrupting her business. Because I was talking to her, and every now and then she kind of hold up the sign like as cars passed. But eventually, as we were talking, she stopped, and we were just talking for a while. And I've been trying to be more diligent about just like, I think it was something that was said at church about Diane, Matt's mom, where she said that I always want to talk to people as if they already know I'm a Christian. That's what it is, I think, or something like that. Like, just be easy to just be like, yeah, I was just praying before this, whatever, you know, and get past that kind of like awkwardness. And so I've been trying to do that a lot more. And so like telling people, or asking them if I can pray with them or whatever it is, telling them like, yeah, I just came from church and things like that. And so for her, I was trying to find a way too, like, if I was thinking about that, like what you were just talking about, like how if I'm going to give her water, the water is meaningless in comparison to this other thing that I can offer her that is not mine to give, but God has tasked me with sharing. And it is the gospel. And so that is why I should be doing this. Like, how do I bring that up? And I also don't want her to feel like I'm bribing her with food. Be like, now listen, but that shouldn't matter, even if I was. Like, but no, I want it to be genuine. I want her to like be receptive to it as well. And so I was just kind of waiting for a good opportunity. And then that opportunity was just like, she's like, well, thank you. You know, she was thanking me for the help. And I told her I'll help however I can. And she's like, well, I don't, I think she said, I don't know what else you could even do. And I was like, well, I'd love to keep praying for you, And so I was like waiting for that opportunity. And I knew if I didn't get it before I left, I was just going to tell her. Like also the other reason I came over here. If it was awkward, it was awkward, but I was waiting for a good opportunity, and then it presented itself. And I was thinking about it, and I was asking God, like, God, give me an opportunity, and even if I don't have one, if it's awkward, I'll take it. But like if there is one, and I do think he just gives them to us. And sometimes we kind of convince ourselves that they're more awkward than they are, right?
Yeah.
But I think that if you ask for an opportunity to do good work for him,
be presented to you.
yeah, I think it's
Very
going to be
rarely
there.
will he withhold that from
Yeah. Unless it's obviously not what you're, like supposed to be doing. Like, I don't know, but like
You're supposed to be.
No. I mean, I know you're supposed to be doing that, but if you're like, God, give me an opportunity to serve, to like give somebody a bunch of money, like we think that might be a good thing, But if you're asking for the opportunity to
Can't pay your own bills.
to share the gospel, I think there will be one there, and you have to get past probably what you're expecting that opportunity to look like.
Yeah. Get out of your own way.
Get out of your own way, and let God lead the way. But we're probably about to run out of time on that camera.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Camera's gonna die on us.
Sorry to take up a lot of that conversation, but I had an interesting day yesterday, and I just thought that I wanted to share some of it. I don't mean to be like, I did all these things, but I do think that God used those opportunities to remind me of some important things and to kind of hammer them in.
And then you got back here. And the van's all good to go.
Truck's fine, yeah.
Truck's fine.
Yep.
And then
Loaded
it's
it all.
loaded. You're good to go.
Tires are good.
We're good to go. Yep, everything's fine. I loaded a bunch of corn by myself.
Corn.
Did you get that
was a
paintbrush?
Great workout.
Corn.
Huh?
Did you get that paintbrush that was on the ground?
Yeah.
Nice.
But dude,
There was.
it was like a workout. It was fun. I'll have to tell you about it off camera. It was fun. You'd appreciate it. 50-pound bags of corn, though.
Ooh, we'll have to do it off.
Gosh, it'd be so awkward if the camera cut off right in the middle of our sentence.
That would be weird. We love you very much. Roll the...
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.